Uncanny X-Men number 183 is titled He'll Never Make Me Cry, and it's a heartbreaker. It kicks off with Colossus and Kitty having a super awkward conversation about their relationship. Colossus is reeling over the loss of Zaji, who was an alien he fell in love with during the Secret War, and he tells Kitty that the feelings he used to feel for her are now gone. Kitty feigns taking the breakup well, but really she's crushed inside, and she ends up taking a leave of absence from the X-Men because of it. Wolverine takes Colossus to a bar and plans to beat some sense into him, but they run afoul of the Juggernaut and things just get messy on their own. This is another issue of X-Men that is great for character development. All of the portrayals are poignant and they feel real, and the voices are spot on. The characters' relationships are vibrant and their interpersonal dynamics are extremely specific with one another. It's a bit talky at some parts, but the story doesn't lag because of it. The plot holds my attention because I'm wholly invested in these characters and the story they're telling, and I want to know how things will turn out. Even though it's largely a dialogue-driven issue, we still get some great action scenes and more than enough mutant powers to keep me fully immersed in the X-Men fantasy. Here are some of the highlights and lowlights for me from Uncanny X-Men number 183.
Kitty Pryde.
Poor Kitty Pryde. She's totally blindsided by Colossus in this issue and is totally heartbroken after he breaks things off with her. She wasn't with the team at the Secret War, so she doesn't even know about this Zaji character, but according to Peter, Zaji's as beautiful as the dawn, and I mean, that's a pretty hard thing to compete with, especially when all he's got left of her is a memory. For a teenager like Kitty Pryde, who's essentially changing and growing every day, there's no way she's going to compete against this perfect memory that Colossus holds of Zaji. But I'm not sure how I feel about Kitty's reaction to Colossus while he's dumping her. It's definitely one of her most composed moments, but I actually contest that it shouldn't have been. I don't think she should have begged Colossus to reconsider or anything, but I mean, like, fight for your man a little bit, girl, if you love him so much. She basically accepts his resignation from their relationship as formally as an HR rep would accept a resignation from a job. I love that we see the contrast and composure between what she's thinking and what she's saying. In her head, her thoughts are racing a mile a minute, like, oh my god, what's he talking about? Why is he doing this? Who was that alien chick? But then out loud, she's remaining super chill, and it's just like, yeah, if you say so, it is what it is. And so I like that contrast, but I just wish she verbalized a little bit more of what she was thinking. Her tears betray her for a moment, but I think it's Kitty still trying to be strong, which I think is a ridiculous expectation of people during a breakup. I mean, if you're ever going to overreact emotionally about something, a breakup is the time to do it. Cause a damn scene. Make him rue the day he ever sought to sully your good name. I mean, okay, it doesn't have to get that dramatic, but I think there's nothing wrong with word vomiting everything that's on your mind during a breakup in pursuit of changing the other person's mind. You've literally got nothing else to lose, except maybe your pride, which Kitty can't lose anyway because it's her own last name. But whatever, Kitty is more graceful than I would be during this breakup, and she bottles all of her emotion and feelings up inside of her. She refuses to give this big galoot the pleasure of seeing her cry or react emotionally in any way, especially since they still have to work together as ex-people. But that doesn't mean she's unfeeling about the situation entirely. She cries to both Illyana and Storm about it and ends up taking a leave of absence from the team just to help process and deal with it. She's not doing any of this in a pouty way. She just knows that she needs to take a moment to breathe, and I actually think that's the most mature decision she made in this issue. She's taking a bit of a mental health and wellness break, and she knows that she's not going to be good to anyone until she's good with herself. Good on ya, Kitty.
Colossus.
I'm a bit divided on how I feel about Colossus in this issue. On the one hand, he's being a total jerk to Kitty and breaking up with her in a pretty tasteless way. Like, I don't think Kitty cares to hear about how lovely or how pure he found the other woman to be. It's just really insensitive to Kitty's feelings, especially after all they've been through together, and particularly after all Kitty specifically has been through for him. I mean, she agreed to marry a Morlock to save his life. That's gotta count for something. But then part of me also respects Colossus for being upfront and honest about his feelings and how they changed. It would have been easy for him to just string Kitty along in their status quo relationship while he hopes and waits for the feelings that he once felt for her to someday return. Isn't it better to cut her loose now than to betray her trust by committing to something his heart's not even into? Yeah, the conversation is uncomfortable and he doesn't really have a lot of tact in it, but he's owning up to his truth and you can't really fault him for that. I mean, people break up, that's just a part of life. So though I don't think Colossus was in any kind of wrong for breaking up with Kitty, I also don't think he really thought the whole thing out very thoroughly. I'm of the mindset that Colossus' Secret War tryst with Zaji wasn't really him acting in his right mind. The Secret War comic alludes to her having some sort of subconscious empathic persuasion ability type thing. I think it's something similar to Gossamer or maybe even Megan in the way that it's passive and she doesn't really control it or know that she's doing it. But it seems like at least sometimes after she uses her healing powers on people, they become infused with a romantic lust for her that clouds their rational judgment. And that's how I think Colossus fell head over heels for Zaji. I don't think the comics ever confirm that Colossus's feelings for Zaji are manufactured, but Wolverine does bring it up when they're at the bar. He questions Colossus about being sure that what he's feeling is actually what he's feeling. And since Wolverine is the comic book authority of excellence in sensory perception, I think it's Marvel's unspoken way of confirming that Colossus's emotions were indeed being meddled with. I really like Colossus's portrayal in this issue. He feels things so deeply, and whether Zaji really was a great love of his life or if his emotions were simply being manipulated into thinking that she was, his heart can't handle being in between, so he retreats into himself as Colossus is often wont to do. He doesn't want to talk about it, and when Wolverine and Nightcrawler bring it up, he defends himself, as he should. I'm not saying that I agree with him breaking up with Kitty was the right choice, but at least he's not being wishy-washy about it. He's confident about his choice for whatever reason, and he sticks to his guns. I think that's a little bit commendable. I also think that his fight with Juggernaut at least partly helps resolve whatever pent-up rage or bitterness the whole situation has him feeling. Sometimes you just gotta hit something, and if you do it, then do it in a responsible way, like against a supervillain. And really, the good thing about bar fights is that they always feel like they're the right thing to do at that time.
Wolverine.
Wolverine is super honorific in this issue. He basically thinks that Colossus is honor-bound to Kitty after she saved him with that whole Caliban wedding affair, and he believes that Colossus is shirking his responsibility to Kitty by tossing her aside so willy-nilly. I don't think it's fair of Wolverine to push his own value set onto someone, but I do think it's fair of him to at least voice his own opinion. I mean, that's an opinion Colossus doesn't agree with, and he thinks Wolverine should be minding his own business, but I tend to side with the Wolvesmeister on this one. What happens interpersonally between any of these X characters ultimately affects the whole team. They live together, they fight together, they save the world together. What affects one ultimately affects all. So even though Colossus might consider his personal life with Kitty private and off limits to the others for discussion, I think it sort of is everybody's business, especially since it has led to Kitty leaving the team. They've just lost a valuable team member purely because of this one incident. So when Wolverine wants to help him patch things up with Kitty, it's not just for them, but it's also for the greater good of everybody else too. Sure, it's a lot of unfair pressure to put on Colossus' shoulders, but it's at least important for him to recognize the consequences of his actions, and that's exactly the lesson that Wolverine hopes to impart on him in this issue. His methods are really unconventional though, and I can't say that I approve of them. He takes Colossus to a bar with the intent of getting him drunk and beating him up. I don't know. I can't really see what kind of salvable conclusion Colossus is supposed to draw from that experience. But Wolverine doesn't even get the chance to do it, which is probably for the best, and he gives Colossus some food for thought as he leaves him to clean up his own mess, both literally and metaphorically.
Juggernaut.
The Juggernaut surprised me in this issue. I liked seeing him just chilling at a local watering hole in his civvies. He's flirting up a storm and is enjoying some fine brewskis. He's not here starting drama. He's not even looking for it either. It's actually the X-Fools who stir shit up with him instead of the other way around. And I can't really blame him for his reaction after Colossus spills beer all over him. And it looks like it was a lot of beer. I would not be thrilled if that happened to me either. By all accounts, Colossus started it and Juggernaut just saw fit to end it. I think the fight scene between him and Colossus is a lot of fun. Without it, this issue would have been a bit of a heavy read, but their battle adds a lot of impact and gives the book some much needed momentum. It's also the reason why Wolverine forgoes the beatdown sesh he was planning to give Colossus himself. The Juggernaut is doing it anyway. It's a bit of a dick move that Wolverine doesn't help Colossus out in the fight, but I guess it's all part of the lesson he's trying to teach him about camaraderie and mutual respect and yada yada. What caught me off guard the most about Juggernaut in this issue was his generosity. He could have used Colossus as a warm-up and gone on one of his usual rampages against the other X-Men right afterwards, but he doesn't. He didn't even want to fight in the first place. He literally was just here to have a good time out on the town, and luckily, Jugs does like a good bar brawl, so he considers his fight with Colossus to be all part of a fun night out. He even pays for all of the damages the fight causes, though I don't know if even a wad of bills that thick can restore something that has literally been torn down and crumbled to the ground.
Rogue.
Rogue is only in this issue for a couple of panels, but I thought it was important to mention her anyway. She's pushing herself to the extreme in the danger room, and I can't help but feel like she's purposely trying to punish herself in some sort of penance for what she did to Carol Danvers. It was revealed in the previous issue that Rogue is having trouble maintaining her own functioning mind amid Carol's persona floating around in there, and the more she steals from Carol's life, it seems the more determined she is to punish herself in her own life. Even after Storm offers her friendship and camaraderie, Rogue pushes the offer away. It's like she feels as though she's undeserving of friendship or unworthy of their help. She doesn't even tell them what's bothering her or why she's being so hard on herself. I think she doesn't want to burden the others with her problems and wants to sort through them her own way, even though her own way seems to be a very dangerous and potentially lethal way.
Selene.
Selene is super sneaky in this issue. She poses as a common barfly early on and attracts the attention of Juggernaut, whose essence she hopes to drain. Then, after the fight breaks out between him and Colossus and it becomes apparent that that's not going to happen, she plays scaredy cat and finds someone else she can latch her claws onto. None of this is revealed until the very end though, when we see that she has drained the unsuspecting bar patron's life and announces her great return to New York. Throughout the issue, she just appeared to be a regular woman who I didn't even really pay attention to, so the twist at the end is a really sneaky surprise. But imagine if Colossus hadn't spilled his beer and Selene successfully drained Juggernaut of his life essence. I mean, I'm not even sure if that's possible given that he's imbued with the power of Cyttorak, but I wonder what would have happened. Would she have become Cyttorak's new avatar by default? Or would the power surge have caused some sort of feedback and fried her where she stands? I don't think Selene has ever psionically siphoned any of Jug's muscle before, so I'm curious in knowing how that would go.
Panels.
Here are some cute or funny or awesome mini moments that I enjoyed from this issue.
5.
Storm ominously watching Kitty return to the mansion, and Kitty shading her by calling her heartless. I thought y'all resolved your issues with each other already.
4.
Rogue reclaiming her time and owning her status as a madwoman, because nothing sounds like a cry for help more than someone saying, "I'm not crazy, you're crazy."
3.
The bar patrons reacting to the Juggernaut Colossus bar brawl. I love it when the peanut gallery gets to chime in and we get a brief glimpse of all the various personalities out there in the X world. My favorite comment is the one trying to placate the bar owner's distress by pointing out that their insurance covers superhero battles. Imagine what the premium is on that though.
2.
Monahan's bartender ID in Colossus. That babyface ain't getting past no bouncer, Peter, so don't even try it. I'm also curious about the bartender's shirt. In this panel, it obviously says something along the lines of "don't bother the bartender," but we catch a quick glimpse of its reverse side in a different panel, but I can't quite make it out what it says. Something female in giant letters? I can't deduce what phrase this could be that possibly goes with "don't bother the bartender," so if anyone out there has any guesses, please let me know. I feel like I'm missing out on some sort of punchline here.
1.
And my favorite panel in this issue is Colossus and Juggernaut going at it in their civvies. Something about these two behemoths punching each other out while in their most proper attire is very satisfying for me. I can barely reach the top shelf of something when I have a shirt tucked in without it coming all undone, so that these two are able to duck and dodge and punch is very impressive. Well done, gentlemen. My favorite noise in this issue is the simple crash of a chair that gets thrown against a wall during the bar fight. It turns out no one is safe in this battle, not the bystanders and definitely not the furniture.
Fashion.
I'm highlighting Kitty Pryde's outfit in this issue, but for once, it's not to call her out, and instead it's actually to commend her. I really like it. I don't think it's fashionable per se, but I think it's really fun. She's wearing a thick collared yellow sweater that has black horizontal lines across it, and it's either been rolled up at the sleeve or is a 3/4 length because the cuff cuts off right around her elbow. She wears a regular pair of, I guess, blue pants or jeans with it, and a nice stylish, kind of bomber style blue jacket, and I think that's my favorite part. The ensemble is vibrant because the yellow and the blue err on the clashing side more than they do on the complementary side, but the color scheme works for me. It's just very fun and it all fits her very well. Her short hair though with the giant side-combed mega bang is a whole other story. I'm not sure what she had envisioned with this do, but I hope part of her to-do list while she's on break from the team is to hit up a salon and have someone take care of it. Yikes. And as far as the guys are concerned, I dare say that I think Juggernaut wins best dressed. He's wearing a very light, form-fitting black turtleneck that actually makes him look at least a little bit sophisticated. I would never expect Kane Marco to be a guy who knows how to dress himself well, nor would I ever expect him to even care about that stuff. But this shirt and pants combo is not the mark of someone who didn't try. It's someone who looked in his wardrobe with his intention of looking good for a night out. A conscious choice was made with this outfit, and I'm very proud of him for making it. I think he even styled his hair a little bit. I'd be remiss not to give a shout out to Wolverine for that plunging neckline he opted to go with. A deep V solid black t-shirt is an American Apparel classic, and while I certainly own a few of them myself, my chest hair is nowhere near as furry as Logan's, and he is just letting it all hang out there.
Ads.
This issue, I'm highlighting the Power Man and Iron Fist full-page spread ad. Take a look at this one. I'm not a huge fan of either of these characters, but I just love how Iron Fist is drawn sort of shady here. He's asking people to start buying their magazine and doesn't want Power Man to know that he's resorted to taking out an ad in an X-Men comic in order to get the job done. I just really like the way he looks here with all those shadow details on his face and his arms and his body. And also, I don't want to sound creepy, but the shape of his mouth is really enticing. Isn't it enticing? I'm feeling enticed by it. Not enticed enough to buy their comic book, but hey, can't win them all.
X-Mail.
There is no X-Mail in this issue, which is a shame because after some of the crazy letters we got in the last one, I was really looking forward to seeing who would come out of the woodwork next. Maybe Wolf from last issue's letters page got hungry and ate them all up. Well, that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. You can follow me on any of my social media platforms for varied assortment of X content, or check out my website, greatxmentations.com. Please let me know what you thought of this issue, and feel free to argue with me in the comments section too. Thanks again, and come on back soon for more Great X-Mentations.